I wanted to talk about this issue of businesses that allow themselves to be used, and this speaks to dollars not making any sense either. These businesses allowing themselves to be used, and the businesses that use businesses which are complicit or willing to be used in this whole notion of pass-throughs and front companies. Charlie Winburn has initiated a resolution or some legislation to deal with this when it comes to the city's SBE program, Small Business Enterprise Program, counting the percentages against their goals for companies that are nothing more than just pass-through companies. And I think that's a good thing. But this is a practice that, is happening everywhere. It's part of the industry. The construction industry is part of the industry. People have figured out, as these, you remember the show I did when I said, if we're so special, why are we so far behind? I cited all of the special programs that were brought about to help black people achieve economic empowerment. Well, as these programs were brought forth and implemented, there were other folks sitting on the sidelines saying, hey, I think I can figure out a way to get around that. No problem, bring the program on. We'll figure out a loophole. And one of the loopholes in this economic inclusion and set-aside program and affirmative action program, one of the loopholes was, pass-through and front companies. If you have a 30% goal for small business enterprises, and a person has a large business, he doesn't qualify to be a small business, all he has to do is create a small business and put it in the name of his wife or his daughter or his son or whatever, and go and compete. And he competes with the large business assets, with the resources that the large business has, and which gives him a greater advantage because he has the power of scale with the larger business backing him up. If you create a goal for women-owned businesses, for instance, and there's a guy out here who has a business, but he's obviously not a woman, say, well, I'll just put my wife in business or my daughter and let her go in and compete for this, and she can rely on my resources for my large business to back her up in her bids, and her bids can be lower because she has the power of scale. She has the power of collective purchasing that we have established with our company. So there are always loopholes. There are always people sitting on the side just watching and waiting, and when there's a new program, those special programs that are brought about to help black people, somebody is there to find a way to get around them. And this notion of pass-throughs and front companies is just despicable, really, because it's really a two-sided issue. It's the smaller company allowing itself to be used that way, and it's the larger company initiating the process and participating in it. And no, it's not illegal. Nobody has said it was illegal, but everything legal is not right. Everything legal is not right. And I've made this point so many times. Slavery was legal. And a lot of other heinous things that went on in this country and still go on in this country are legal. But we're not talking about the legality of it. We're talking about the ethical and moral issues that are involved with this. So this issue of pass-throughs, I just wanted to look at a couple of cases that confirm or help confirm what we're going through here in Cincinnati, and to let us know, of course, that it's not just Cincinnati. I mean, I've heard about it in Charlotte, North Carolina. There were two black business owners there who were in construction. They were approached by this company that was going to build a prison in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I wish I'd brought that article with me, but it was about 5-6 years ago. And they said, hey, we want to hire you, and we want you to help us with our minority business enterprise goal. And we'll hire you, and you work for us, and everything will be okay. But when the deal came down, they wanted the companies to take on these huge contracts for all this money, millions of dollars. And the bottom line is that the companies would only get like one, I think, $18,000, another one, $35,000. And the two brothers refused to do it. And they exposed the deal to the newspaper and outed the company that was trying to do that. And it was all a pass-through. They wanted to use these guys as a pass-through company. I know folks right here in Cincinnati who have refused to do that kind of thing, but there are also folks here in Cincinnati who have agreed to do it. And we really need to stop that practice, because it's not in our best interest to acquiesce to something that will ultimately deny dollars and work going to a broader base of small companies, black companies. It's just not in our best interest to do that. And if we would operate with the understanding, black people I'm talking about, if we would operate with the understanding that, you know, if the more of us who win, the better off we are individually. Of course, we're better off collectively, but we're also better off individually, because there are more resources among our group that we can share. But somebody would say, well, I'm just going to go and get mine, and if I don't do this, somebody else will do it. If we have that kind of attitude, we'll always lose. We'll always lose, because we'll always be a target for the big company that wants to go and run a big amount of money through a small company, which would raise their minority numbers, and yet that small company would only get a very minute percentage of the money from that contract. Let me give you two examples. The Pittsburgh Gazette, back in 2000, June of 2000, wrote a couple of, well, they wrote one article. It's in a two-part series. It was called, excuse me, it was titled Construction Charade, Part 1 and 2. Construction Charade. The first article was titled Minority Goals Don't Add Up. Haven't we heard that before? Minority goals. I'm about sick of minority goals. But it says they don't add up. And it was talking about companies posing as pass-throughs. And let me read just a piece of it for you. It says, in April, members of the Pittsburgh Sports and Exhibition Authority announced that about 35% of the contracts awarded for the construction of the PNC Park, I guess that was a baseball park, and the new Steelers Stadium, Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium, and the expansion of the convention center had gone to firms owned by minorities and women. 35% of the contracts awarded had gone to minorities and women. And then the article continues and says, that was right in line with the authority's goal on the $1 billion package of projects. Sounds just like us. So far, so good, right? They had a goal of 35% or 30%, and they were right in line with the goal. And this is a $1 billion project. Then the article says, yet a 3-month Post-Gazette investigation has found that at least a third of the $117 million in contracts that went to these businesses through the end of March has been passed through to firms owned and managed by white males, or to companies that no longer qualify as disadvantaged under the certification process the authority says it uses. Did we not find this same information out with Cincinnati Public School System? That they reported that so much money had been spent with minorities, and the more we looked, the more we found that it wasn't true. The same thing happened. This is 10 years ago in Pittsburgh. It said it was passed through to firms owned by white males. And it says federal grants were examining whether contractors working on the stadium and convention center projects violated the law by using sham companies to meet the authority's minority and women-owned business set-aside goals. They were asked to investigate this. The FBI was asked to investigate it. The federal investigation follows lawsuits filed in February against the authority and 2 steel companies that had contracted with the sports teams to supply $61 million in steel for the fast-moving projects. The article goes on, but I wanted to just show you that these pass-throughs and front companies are very dangerous. And when I say dangerous, I'm not talking about in a physical way. but dangerous to the economic empowerment of smaller companies, especially black companies. It says, names companies that were providing steel for PNC Park demanded that she participate, this is a woman-owned company, participate in an illegal pass-through scheme. Both companies have denied any wrongdoing. So these pass-throughs, apparently the way it was done up there was illegal, even illegal. And on the front of this article is a white woman, Kathleen Kerr, of Industrial Fabricating Systems, Inc. She sued 2 steel contractors for, I guess, attempting to get her to do this. This is sad. This was 10 years ago in Pittsburgh. And like I said, it happens all over the country. The other part of the article, construction charade, the headline says, even black firm can't compete. Even a black firm can't compete. I'll just give you a couple of paragraphs because our time is getting short. It says, last April, after 2 years of struggling to crack the region's closely knit community of concrete providers, the Monroeville man's time and effort seemed about to pay off. And the man they're talking about, his name is Willie Balaba. He has a concrete company, Balaba Concrete. It says, when bids were opened for the concrete that would be used in the new Steelers Stadium, Agra Foundations, with whom Balaba said he had a partnership agreement, was the apparent low bidder at $5.6 million. Balaba's company, Balaba Concrete, located on 2nd Avenue, was slated to receive $1.3 million of the work. Balaba's share would be counted toward the Pittsburgh Sports and Exhibition Authority's goal of giving 25% of the work on the city's new stadiums and the new convention center to minority-owned businesses and 10% to women-owned businesses. It says just 3 days later, Balaba learned that Agra, a white-owned firm from Canada, had decided instead to join with Diversified Commodities of Carnegie, which is owned by former Pittsburgh Steelers player Craig Bingham. I don't know who Craig Bingham is. That's that Ironhead guy, maybe. I think Ironhead Bingham. Ironhead Craig, I think they called him. It says, like Balaba, it is certified as a minority business enterprise. Balaba soon learned that Bingham's cement operation was limited to, check this out now, Craig Bingham's cement operation was limited to simply ordering concrete from white contractors. The concrete would then be delivered by white contractors in trucks owned by white contractors. Balaba's company includes 5 concrete mixing trucks, a tractor trailer, and 6 employees, including 3 minorities and 2 women. And of course, everybody denied it. This was in June of 2000 in the Pittsburgh Gazette. Now, again, how does that apply to us locally? We had the same situation here with concrete, the same kind of thing. 10 years later in Cincinnati. But this goes on all the time. All the time. Just get someone to start a company, pass through millions of dollars, give that person a small percentage, and everything's okay. You get the numbers on your goal, and everything's okay because you've satisfied your minority goal. We cannot afford to continue to allow these kinds of things to happen here in Cincinnati. There's too much history on it, we know too much about it, and we know it happens. We have to stop it. And I appreciate what Charlie Winburn is doing, to call it out and to stop it. And I just beg those companies that are participating in this, both the majority companies and the minority companies, stop that. Stop that. Do it right. Do the right thing. Do the right thing for the right reasons. It's not just about you. We have to work together, brothers and sisters, everyone in this town, white and black too, to make sure that we have the kind of community, the kind of city that we all say we want to live in. These kinds of examples are not what we need. Not what we need. We can't teach our children how to do the right thing if we're out here doing the wrong thing. So we need to change that. And we need to make sure that our dollars start making sense. That our dollars start making sense when it comes to where we spend them, when it comes to the reciprocity that we get back for for our patronage of companies, white and black,